Hello, this is Kurt Brown, also known as Saint Rambone. Somebody asked me why I thought that Kurt Cobain was my brother. I think he is my half brother, and this is why. Back in the around 1970 or in that range, I was told I had a half brother, and my mother was very angry about it, and my father wasn't really discussed that much. It was one of those things I think it led to a divorce. About a year or two later, it was like final, and my father told me one day I'd meet my brother. I'd kind of forgotten about it, and he told me this through my life a few times. One day you'll meet your brother. Then in 1986 or 87, I think it was 87, my father told me that my brother Kurt was on the radio. And I actually heard him playing also. It was in Mobile, Alabama, playing in the station there. And I was driving to see him in Theodore, Alabama, and when I got there, he had actually heard the song. And within a week or two, my father was dead. And a parent said his heart was hurting him. I think somebody had given him some poison whiskey along the way. So I think my father was killed that week. He also told me I should go meet my brother. It was in Aberdeen or Seattle during that discussion. I was sick with a stroke in 1983 in the Navy, which the government has not recognized. I had severe headaches at that time, and I was having them then at that time. Anyway, I'm back to the discussion about how I know Kurt Cobain is my brother also. And the year 1994, I was at my home in Midtown Mobile, Alabama. My mother called me from Sims, Alabama, out on Colonial Terrace Drive. And she told me to come out. She had something to tell me. So I went there to my mom's home, and make a long story short, we were jumped. I talked about it in another video. I'd actually jumped. She told me that someone was there that looked like my father, but it wasn't him. Then she told me I'd inherited $40.2 million or $4.2 million, whatever, 40.2 if I'm not mistaken, or 400.2, some ungodly number. I've never had $1 million. She told me I'd inherited that much money. Then this guy comes walking down the hall. So that Paul talks too much. And I think Paul, my stepfather, was knocked out. And then I remember there was an argument when the man said, he called out my mother's name very loud, Judy, real loud, Judy, like that. And he said, this is not your month. And I'm not sure what happened. He probably drug her to the back room. This is in 1994. I believe I was injected some chemicals or something. Whatever they hit me with the head would knock me for a loop. I think my stepfather helped me to the door. And I escaped out the door, and the man said, the other man who had been in the hall, I guess was him, he came to the door and he's, where are you going, whatever. I told him to leave me alone. Who are you? I was very drugged. I took off, and I thought I saw someone in the yard that was my aunt. I don't think it was her. She was trying to encourage me to come back into the house. And I was driving back to Mobile. I got to the Overlook Shopping Center off of Moffett Road. I pulled into that, and I just stopped in the middle of the road, and I passed out in the middle of like a drive-through in this shopping center. There was a grocery store there then, and a 5 and dime. And people came in behind me blowing the horn, like 4 or 5 people in the car behind me blowing the horn. And I kept driving. I started the car again, had an intense headache. Kept driving, went to Midtown Mobile. At that point, it seems like someone asked me, like someone came to my home and they asked me, I thought it was my wife, what did my mother want? And I said, I'm not sure. I was confused. I said she just wanted to talk. And then I heard some talking in the background while I was kind of in a semi-conscious state, and I had a neighbor working on my garage. His name was Stan Clark. And I heard someone saying to Stan he wouldn't stop. He just kept coming. Of course, he might have been talking about me. I wouldn't stop from leaving the house and just kept driving. Then later that evening, my wife came home from work. And I asked her where she had been. I thought she had left just a little while ago, not long after I came and sat down after speaking with my mother. And she said, I've been at work all day. She was a nurse. Then a day or two later, someone came up to me and told me, you were driving all over the place. I didn't drink at the time and doing no drugs or anything. I'd had no real health problems, nothing of that sort. Driving all over the place. I remember now that I'd actually parked in the yard almost because I was so loaded off what they had either hit me in the head with or injected me with. They also said I should go check into my money. I think I had some of Kurt Cobain's money coming in some way. That's the way I understood it. That was 1994. I was knocked for a loop. Anyway, and I had a second stroke in 2004. I've had a stroke in 1983, 2004. My memory started coming back in 2010 on some things involving the military hit in 1983, which I'd forgotten much about. And also, my memory started coming back on a lot of other things. And now I came back on discussions with my mother about my father's philandering and the brother that I had, which I wish I would have met him, Kurt Cobain. I'm pretty sure that's him. He even looks like Dad, Bruce Dale Brown. I think he was a little cuter with his mama's big baby blue eyes. So, Daddy wants a wafer. Daddy got a wafer. He had 2 wafers. My mother was a wonderful woman too. And I hope she wasn't hurt. I know she was hurt during this episode of events. They inject you so you forget things. Our world is covered with psychops now. Psychological operations include needles, in my opinion, and also weapons that create resonance in the head or hurts in the brain like a stunning effect. This is Kurt Brown, St. Rambone Mobile Audit Club. Half-brother of Kurt Cobain. I'm Kurt Austin Brown. I'm half-brother of Kurt Cobain. Bruce Dale Brown is his genetic father. I haven't gotten any response to trying to get a genetics check. They won't allow me to do so. Considering the family's probably trying to protect either murderers or those who would have financial loss at stake. I can see why they would do this. It's not surprising in the United States. I'm kind of giving up on capitalism. I have a philosophical viewpoint. I probably won't be living much longer anyway. I was in a nuclear incident and many people I believe were killed or maimed during this time. Psychological operations and artificial intelligence coupled with nuclear warfare. Psychological operations warfare are many different varieties. It goes from a tiny little speck to a needle to a large resonating thing in space that knocks everybody on the ground. On the ground. If I was to sing a song about Kurt Cobain, it would be like, brother, I wish I would have met you. Brother, I wish I would have known you. Brother, if I hadn't been so long gone, yeah. That nuclear stuff knocked me in the brain in the 80s. Or that psychops, whatever we were hit with. I think it was psychops and nuclear stuff. So I worked topside as a quartermaster, navigate the boat. I am an assistant to the officer of the deck. My chief officer of the deck, in my opinion, was Captain Tinrad Chip Barnett. Jump, sailor, jump, swim to St. Clemente. It's radioactive. Kurt Brown, St. Rambone Mobile Audit Club, half-brother Kurt Cobain. If only I could have been the one who died, Captain Tinrad Chip